Hey, surprise! Hello. Good evening, gems and gents. Welcome to Behind the Pages podcast. I am not Natima Sheree, the Queen Pen. I am actually Tiffany Matthias, the one true Phoenix. But welcome in. You are not in the wrong place. You were in the right place at the right time. We are here to discuss the Queen Pen's new book, Pressure Made, hot off the presses. It's out there now. I know people have been purchasing their copies. They've been hitting her up. They've been in the DMs, all the things there because I be in her business like that. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce myself to her community. Oh my God, can y'all hear my neighbors? Oh my goodness. I live in Bushwick now, and my neighborhood is very lit. So please, if you hear anything in my background, it too shall pass. But my name is Tiffany. I am the one true Phoenix. I am the CEO, the Chief Excellence Officer for Transparent Jam Inc. And I also happen to be Natima's big cousin and business partner. And so when Pressure Made was coming out, she asked me two favors. And before she could even ask what the favors were, I said, absolutely. The first one was, would I host her virtual launch? And I was like, absolutely, I will. What are you talking about? And the second one was, would I write the forward in the book? And to that, I was completely honored that she would trust me with such a big task. Like, but then again, she's trusting me with her business baby, so why wouldn't she? But I'm so happy that you are all here this evening. You're gonna get to see a little bit more from me. But before we get into all of that, I need to know who's here in the space. Tell me where you're reporting from. Tell me, what state, what city you're located in. Let me know. Yes, somebody was like, it was Tupac time. I love my neighborhood. Gotta love the community. So yes, tell me where you're coming in from. So like I said, I'm coming from Bushwick, Brooklyn, the land of the Lenape people, the indigenous people who once owned and not owned, who once lived on and curated and cared for this land. So let me know where it is that you're reporting from. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna have the Queen Pen come to the stage so that she and I can start to dialogue it. I got so many questions for her. You would think that I know the answers, but I don't. But here we go. Coming to the stage is Natima Sheree, the Queen Pen, the founder and CEO of Transparent Gem Inc. My little cousin, she's like my inspiration. When I grow up, I want to be just like her. So come on in, cuzzo. Come on in. We gotta get the band all situated. Give us a moment. Here we go. Wait, am I adding you and then removing you at the same time? Okay. Where you at? Add to the stage. There you go.
Hey, Cuzzo.
Hey, listen, StreamYard playing around. It been a minute since I had to engineer, and then they went and tweaked all of the different things, and the buttons ain't where they supposed to be and doing what they do. But
That's exactly
welcome.
what it is. That's exactly what it is. I said that. I said, oh, she's struggling only because StreamYard has done so many enhancements and updates and they've changed so much. And we haven't hosted Hustle and Shine in almost a year now. And so I figured you'd be a little rusty. My apologies. I should have
It's
let you
okay.
know.
It's okay.
But thanks
It's
so much
okay.
for hosting, Cuzzo. I so appreciate you. What's up?
Yes. So first of all, y'all, I got my hair cut the other day,
And I
and
love it. It's dope. I love it. I love it.
yes,
It looks
yes. I
good.
just needed a little something new. Look, I done bounced and behaved my necklace right off my neck. So welcome to your podcast. Welcome to
Thank you.
Behind the Pages. Um,
Thanks.
what is it like being on the other side of the microphone and the questions?
You know what? It's actually really cool. I love it because this platform means a lot to me when I'm on here hosting other authors and creatives. I love creating a space for them to shine. It's a space that we like to champion their stories and their narratives, and so being the one bringing my work to this platform. It means a lot. It's like real full circle moment, because when
Mhm.
you're called to create something that champions others, oftentimes you play the background so much that you don't get a chance to be in the spotlight in the front. And of all people, I'm super cool with that. But one of the pieces of feedback that I get so much from supporters of TGI, supporters of Natima Sheree is, we'd really love to see you out front a lot more. We'd love to hear from you and the work that you do. And so,
Mhm.
just being able to position myself today to do that, it means a lot. And so I'm super grateful for everybody that's here. I'm grateful for you, Cuzzo. You never hesitate to champion and support me in the things that I'm doing. And so I so appreciate you for taking your Sunday evening to host this, and give me an opportunity to speak about my book.
Absolutely. I had a dance class and I was like, oh no, cancel. I see y'all tomorrow. But I done queued up my
Thank
notes.
you.
I got them here on my phone. And I had to blow them up to 247% because I got senior citizen eyes. And I need
Listen.
to be able to read these questions without squinting and looking crazy.
Okay.
But that's how we do. We are
Yeah.
going to jump into these questions. For all of those who are watching, we have a giveaway later on. So stay tuned for
Yes.
that to come, probably about midway. So say about 7:30-ish. All right.
Push.
So in the meanwhile, tag a friend, tell them to get up in here. Normally we're like, tell us that you shared this. I don't want to know you shared it. Tag me, tag the person, tell me who it is I need to be looking for in these comments. So first off, we're gonna get into it. Girl,
Hmm.
this cover,
Yeah.
when you sent the template of like the mock-up of what the cover was gonna look like, I was like, okay. I know
Thank
there is
you.
a story. You
Yes.
never do anything haphazardly or half-assed. So
Mhm.
please tell me, what is the story behind this cover?
Yeah. So just as you said, Cuzzo, everything I do is intentional, is thoughtful. Um, I have a heart for others and including others in the things that God is doing in my life. And so as I was getting closer to the end of the manuscript, its completion,
Mm-hmm.
I said, this cover has to like speak for me, but also beyond me, kind of thing. And so um, I was just thinking, I was writing down all these ideas, journaling all these, concepts of what the book could look like. And a piece of paper, no, a photo fell out of my journal. And it was a picture of me and my sister, and I was holding my oldest daughter, and it was the three of us. And so I said, oh my God, that's my cover. So I worked with, Naveen. Shout out to Naveen, our graphic designer. He's been working with us for 5, almost 6 years. I sent him the picture of myself, my sister Katrina, my daughter Amaya, my daughter Araya, and my mother Angelica. And I said, I need you to create one image out of all of these faces. And that is the face that came up. And ironically, it looks just like me, but it's actually all five of our faces in that one photo.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that is crazy because when we talk about a copy machine that made a copy machine, and they ain't make copies yet, but I'm sure when
Yeah.
Araya and Amaya have children, their husbands is just going to contribute to the batter because that's all going to be these G's. Hey, Aunt Angie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I said that, I was like, this looks like her, but it's not her. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm not going to say anything. Because
Yeah.
I was like, because you know how a portrait is the artist's interpretation
True.
of what it is that
Hmm.
they're seeing. So I'm
Yep.
like, maybe she had an artist sketch it and that's what they came up with. But the fact that you said that Naveen took all y'all faces
Yep.
and then just overlaid them into this one
One
image,
image. Yep. Yep.
and the image still looks like you, that's dope.
It's
I
isn't
can't.
that crazy? And what's so interesting when I look at it, I get so emotional because the hair that he used, because I wear my hair curly, and so the hair that
Mhm.
he used was actually my sister's and my mom's hair, because they had the longer hair. I was always into the shortcuts or the super curly hair, and so when I saw the final, I was just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But it's, yeah, so it's
Oh,
actually my mother, myself, and my two daughters and my sister in that
that
image.
is amazing.
Yeah, so that's why I
Okay.
had to go with it for the cover. Yeah.
I might I might once my copy arrives because the post office is playing with us. When I see Aunt Angie and I see your daughters, I'm gonna need them to autograph it too because, you know, and
Yeah.
don't nobody copy me. All
Yeah.
right. So
Right.
now back into this book, right?
Yeah.
Back into take us back to the moment when you knew you were ready to publish your memoir because this isn't your first time publishing and you've obviously shared stories before, but
Mhm.
to bring specific stories together and to
Mhm.
make it your memoir, your story of you,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, it was hard. I'm not even gonna lie to you because I had contributed to all of the anthologies that the Diamond Writers, now Writers Room, had compiled, and I had always shared pieces of my stories. So different excerpts from what could have been my overall memoir. I think what was different for me finally deciding to move forward with this was I had sanitized so many of the prior stories that I shared. I made
Mm,
sure that they were ingestible. I made sure that people would read them and receive them without judgment, that people would not question my walk with God, that they would not question my integrity as a woman. And so oftentimes I would share parts of my story, but it would be like, filtered. It would be pretty. It would be acceptable. And so when you get to a particular place in your healing journey, you recognize the necessity for transparency. You recognize where withholding your truth and withholding where God has really shown up in your life, not only do you rob people of an opportunity to truly get to know you, but you rob people of the opportunity to get to know the one who saved you. And so, too often, when people would read my stories, it was almost as if I was sustaining myself and I was getting through a lot of this on my own, which was just not true. And so that's when I decided, I was like, it's time to share my real truth. And not that the other stories weren't true, they were just cleaner versions, they were just sanitized versions of my truth. And so with this memoir, I said, okay, this is going to be such a raw and real and transparent and naked version of my story and of my narrative. But I think what I hope people take from it, I know you haven't asked me that,
mm,
but it is a part of why I decided to share the story, because I really do hope that people see Christ in his ability to save us from ourselves, not just from sin. But sometimes
mm,
the greatest enemy is the inner me. And I was on a self destructive path that I never talked about. And so in
mhm,
this book, I'm much more transparent about what that journey was like and really learning how to just let God be God in my life. So that's why I decided to finally write this or share this, because it was already written.
mhm. So so you answered a question that's coming later on, but
Yeah.
before we get there, how did you know it was time? Because I know this has been this you didn't wake up one day and say, okay, I'm gonna write my memoir, and then 30 days later you were in editing. No,
Yeah.
this is years worth of journal excerpts and poems and all of these things here. How did you know now is the time for me to release this story?
I honestly think it was the season I'm in right now. I had gone through so much turbulence in my life and so much change and transition in my life that I don't know. I felt like I was reaching for something that was already present. Like I was reaching for this
Mm,
next thing and I was hoping for this next big thing in my life. And really, it had already been completed. I just needed to push it out. And so, what really made me decide to do this book, and where I feel like it was just divine timing, a lot of my story I talk about, or a lot of the stories in this memoir, I talk about, my broken heart. I talk about failed relationships. I talk about my divorce. And I knew the book couldn't end there. I knew the book could
mhm,
not end on, yet another failed relationship. And so as I was completing the memoir or the manuscript for the memoir, that's when I met my partner now. And it is the healthiest love that I've ever known. And so I
mm,
was like, there's the end. That's the end. That's the last chapter of the memoir. And so once I wrote that and I wrote him into my my overall story, I was like, okay, now we're done. And so I decided to publish it. Yeah. I was like, okay, now we're finished. Now it's finished. Yeah.
Listen, him. Don't go getting a big old head because she put you in the book. Okay, don't do it. You get medium head, not a big old head. All right.
Yeah.
So you kind of already answered. I was going to ask next was like, Pressure Made isn't your first TGI publication. What should the readers expect? So I'm going to rephrase this question. What's different about this book versus any of your other things that you have written and presented to the world? What's different?
What's different is the evidence. This book has more evidence of change, where the other books, I think I alluded to change that was happening, and I spoke of a healing journey that was in place and that was, currently underway. But I think my memoir, because I own the story and every narrative in it, it really does speak to the work that I've done. And there's like a comparative, like there's something to compare now to then. Whereas in the other stories, you don't know. You're getting, what I'm saying, it's one dimensional. You're getting one story, one narrative. You have to believe that it's true. Whereas with those that you've read prior to this work, you can kind of see the contrast. Like, wow, she's, she doesn't think this way anymore. She doesn't approach, matters that way anymore. So there's so much evidence of growth and so much evidence of true transition. And that's really the work that we do. And I thought it was important for people to see that we don't just talk about, change and transformation, but I'm providing the evidence, because when you read this book, you're going to be like, oh my God, I had no idea Natima had gone through that, or took herself through that, or experienced that, or failed in that way. Because a lot of that I kept out of the anthologies. I kept a lot of that to myself. Whereas now when you read it and you look at my journey, you're like, oh, okay, I remember when she went through that. I didn't realize it, but now I know exactly what she's pointing to. So I think it's the evidence.
So for me, what I heard you say as somebody who considers themselves in the inner circle, but I know there are things that you shared with me, but you still held other things close to your heart. I'm about to get some connecting pieces here. I'm about to have some Tiffany epiphanies up in here, be like, oh, that's what she was
Exactly.
Oh, I cannot. Damn it, post office. I can't wait to get my copy. Okay. So now that we're on this, I want you to grab your nearest copy. I want you to find an excerpt, something that when you took pen to paper, look, she got it ready right there, y'all. When you took pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, you said, yo, this is bars. Share.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny though, because I honestly don't have a piece that I was like, "Oh, this is going, this is going to really like be considered a bar," because all of it is just truth. And I think we are over sensationalized by things that hype us up on social media, or things that arouse our emotions or get an energetic response from us. What I really wanted for this book was for people to, I wanted this book to be a reflection for people to see themselves in my story. I wanted people to say, I've had seasons like that where I was selfish. I've had seasons like that where I was broken. Bye, my love. I love you. Sorry, my baby's going to work. He's leaving. I wanted to have, opportunities for people to like say, instead of saying, "Oh, I felt that," or "Oh, yes, sis," or whatever they do like this. No. I wanted people to go, "Oh, wow. I think I need God in that way. I feel like I need God in that way." And so anyway, I'm going to read an excerpt from chapter 4. It's called Eroded Identity, God's Image in the Rough. Is that I had repented, I had knelt by the bed, cried the tears, and made the eternal vow to come home. But coming home to God is one thing. Coming back to yourself is a whole other beast. I was trying to get back into the routine of religion, but my spiritual GPS was spinning. After the divorce, I made the painful decision to leave Set the Captives Free. It wasn't because I didn't love the house, I did. But I knew how much my ex-husband needed the strong, consistent brotherhood that ministry provided. Their men's ministry was a fortress, and I felt that for his healing and growth, he needed to stay planted there more than I did. I was okay with starting over. But starting over as a 30 something single mother in the DMV is a lot lonelier than it sounds in the brochures. Spiritually, I felt renewed. I knew I was forgiven, but mentally and emotionally, I was a shell. I still felt the burning need to hide. I started church hopping, not to find a word, but to find a corner where I could be invisible. I'd slip into the sanctuary after praise and worship had already started and vanish before the benediction even hit the air. I was the girl sitting in the very last row, clutching my purse, avoiding eye contact like it was a contagious disease. I was terrified of the where you been questions. How do you even answer that? Oh, I've been out in the wilderness auditioning for a life that almost killed me. How are the kids and how are things with you? I didn't have the script for that conversation. And honestly, I didn't even know who the woman in the seat was anymore. I was suffering from a total erosion of identity. For 10 years, I was a wife. For 10 wild months, I was the girl outside. Now I was nothing but a question mark. I had no persona to attach myself to, no reputation to live up to, and no identity to grasp onto. I was untethered. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a face. I saw a composite of everyone I had ever tried to please. I spent my teenage years trying to outlive the middle child stigma, performing for a drop of my mother's validation. I spent my 20s trying to prove I could be a Claire Huxtable level wife despite having no blueprint. For the first time in my life, I had no one to pretend to be, and the silence of that realization was terrifying. And I chose to share that because I think in the world we live in, where most people's identity is based on social comparison that they feel most comfortable consuming, I think it's important for women like us in our 40s and 50s to really begin to share with younger women how scary that season of life can be when you literally have no clue who you are because you've never looked in the word and you've never looked to God to define you. You allowed situational things, environmental things, friendship circles, social circles, things going on around you to attach yourself to, but never truly defining who you are. And so here it is. And at this point in the book, I'm in my 30s and I am clueless as to who I am, just grasping for something that felt like myself. But because there was nothing there, I was afraid. And so I go on to share more about what that looked like, but I just wanted to share how real after divorce and after you wild out after divorce, when you come back to self, you are literally like, who am I? And that is the season of life I was in at that point in the book.
Well, while I looked and appeared distracted to those who were watching, that was only because I was sharing behind the scenes to some of my people who need to be in here and hearing this. I was ready to fall out on the floor and tell you, get the hell out my head, my heart, and my life because, ma'am. Okay,
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Well, now that I done scraped myself up off the floor and everything like that, we're gonna move forward with this interview, and I'm gonna try and keep my composure together because you're gonna have me in tears before this is over, and my box of Kleenex is on the other side of the room. So I want to get into the impact, right? We're gonna jump right into the impact and the intention.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the difference between this work and previous works that you submitted was one, the other works were a little bit more sanitized, more palatable for the audience. Um, Gave the illusion that maybe you were on the other side of the healing journey or had healed those wounds and things, and you had moved on from them. They were a lot cleaner. Here you get a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more messier, right?
Yeah.
When you decided this was how you were going to take this is the direction you were going to take,
Mm-hmm.
were you thinking about the book clubs, the women in the church circles, right? Who will read this book and have conversation around it?
Mm-hmm.
What types of conversations do you think are going to get sparked from this?
That's such a good question. So I'll answer that in two parts. When I started this journey, because it took me 2 years to write Pressure Made, there was a lot of internal conflict. There was a lot of shame attached to my story that I hadn't yet healed, and I didn't want people to see it and then judge me or discredit the work that I do. So initially, when I decided to woman up and finish this manuscript and publish this book, I was thinking of two women in particular. And those were the two women the young women that I birthed. It was important for them to know that anything that they'll ever face in life, I've likely already gone through something similar or identical. And yet I'm still standing. I'm still here. I still, you know what I'm saying? I still have something in me that's incomplete or unfinished. And that's why I'm still here. And so I never want my daughters to feel like there is a mistake or a bad choice or bad decision that can separate them from God, because that's not what his word says. His word actually says the opposite. And so, did I have to go through all I went through? No. Much of it was self imposed. And for those who know me well enough, know accountability is my favorite word, even for myself. And this book really does set the tone and temperature for accountability. So a lot of it is me sharing, not to be messy, but to be transparent and honest. These are all the things that I've done wrong. These are the things that I created in terms of pressure. But when you surrender and you submit those mistakes and allow God to turn them around for your good, there's so much that can come from that. And so I really wanted my daughters to know there is nothing that you would do that would, one, keep me from loving you, and certainly, not keep God from loving you. And so when I think about those who will read my story, and those women, those groups of women who will read this as a collective or as an individual, my hope again is that my book is a mirror for them. Where maybe our stories aren't identical. Maybe you didn't get pregnant by someone you weren't married to, who you later found out had a wife, right? Maybe that wasn't your trauma. Maybe you didn't have a mom that you felt like never truly loved or accepted you, and you spent most of your life trying to gain her validation. Maybe that wasn't it. But that struggle with identity, that struggle with feeling validated, that struggle with feeling seen, that, you know what I'm saying, that desire to be loved and accepted, where you are willing to lay down your standards, where you're willing to ignore boundaries that you claim to have set for yourself. That's what I'm hoping that they see and say, wow, I could have gone through all of that and still find solace and still find peace in God. And that is truly what I want women to converse about, what I want them to, to dissect my stories and discuss amongst each other, is like, how did she go through all of this, yet still have a heart for other women when there were women in that book that hurt her? How did she go through all of this and still be open to love when she's been mishandled by so many men before the love she has now? And she doesn't make him pay for anything that she went through with the others. Like, that is what I'm hoping women find, that there is more on the other side. So,
Okay. And you finished that at 7:30, the halfway point. And so now it is time for our giveaway. What are we giving away to the people?
well, we have a copy of Pressure Made. There is also a companion journal that God put on my heart to create for other women to journal their own pressure experiences. And so, whoever our winner tonight, not only do they get a copy of my memoir, but they will also receive a copy of the companion journal where they can begin journaling their own stories of pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So drum roll. The winner of the Pressure Made memoir, along with the companion journal, will go to the person who can tell us where the title Pressure Made came from. If you know the Queen Pen, if you have been following her, if you've been following TGI, this is not the first time that she has spoken the term pressure made. As a matter of fact, it's on our shirts, it was on our bags. It When we were the Diamond Writers, it's because diamonds make pressure. They go to neighbor's dog. So I'm gonna give it. It's now 7:32. If you can tell us, and you don't have to, if you can't remember exactly where it came from, That's fine. Give a ballpark figure, a ballpark answer. Natima will decide how close you are to it. But yes, we're gonna give it to 7:45. We're gonna jump back into these questions. Keep the answers coming in. We see one coming in from Jessica Cooper, who said that Pressure Made came from diamonds. Can we be a little bit more specific there, Miss Jessica? Can we be a little bit more specific?
Pacific.
I know that's not the word. I know that's not the word, but
Yeah.
I'm going along with it. I'm acting up tonight. All right. So we're going to get back into, I want to ask one more question about the impact, right?
Mhm.
And I want to ask, there's a couple of questions here. Okay. For the culture,
Mhm.
there are certain times where there is a piece of art that is released and it impacts the culture.
Mhm.
Do you think Pressure Made is a right fit for the culture that we are in now? And when I say culture, it could be the culture,
Mhm.
it could be world culture, it could
Macro.
be what's happening in the
Mhm.
United States right now. Do you
Mhm.
think Pressure Made is right for the culture right now?
That's a good question. When I think of the culture from a macro lens, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
I think our current climate and culture really does focus more on, political discourse, the political turbulence, economic downturn, financial struggle, right? But when I think of the micro culture and I think of it through the lens of what women are facing, right? Women are
Mm-hmm.
being attacked pretty much everywhere in this world. Women are continue to be marginalized. Women continue to fix a lot of corporate problems only to then later be replaced by a white man, right? Who clearly wasn't qualified to solve the problems, but he's now qualified to consume or resume the benefits and the
Mm-hmm.
outcomes of the problem solving that the Black woman does. So when I look at it through that lens and what Black and brown women face in this country, absolutely, because there's stories of my experience in corporate in this book and the things that I've had to deal with from a DEIB standpoint. There are stories that I share about the overwhelm of single motherhood and how oftentimes women are blamed for being single mothers, but never point the finger at the man who left, creating the single motherhood dynamic, right? Um, so when I think about culture and what Black women currently need from the world that we're just not getting, how we're not really being seen and celebrated the way we should. Not to at all compare myself to Michelle Obama, but just as an example, that despite how great she is, people still find a reason to discredit and diminish her character, and attack her integrity and attack her as a female, as a woman, as a being, as an essence. And so, again, I'm no Michelle Obama, but simply saying her struggle resonates with all of us on every level. And so
Yeah.
my book does share that, what some of those experiences were for me, where no matter how
Mm-hmm.
hard I tried, no matter how many degrees I've earned, no matter how much success I've had, I am still never good enough to sit in certain seats and at certain tables. And what that does to your identity, what that does to your self-esteem, what that does to your psyche. And although there are so many different groups and therapy is celebrated and encouraged, there is still a secret space that we shrink to that no one reaches for us in that space. We have to literally pull ourselves out. And so that's what my book speaks to on a more micro, culture level.
That is so dope. I feel it, I see it and everything. And it actually leads me and is a perfect segue into my next question. Once you put this story out there or these stories out there, what did it cost you, if anything?
Wow. You know what? My buffer is gone. It took down my safety net and it
Mm-hmm.
completely demolished my comfort zone. Um, I can no longer hide behind certain things like I did. There's no more cover up. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot that I expose in this book, not to shame or out myself, right? But I feel like I was trapped in the shame of my own truth. Like, these are things you really went through. Like, I know they don't feel good and they didn't feel good at the time. They don't feel good to talk about them now. But these are things that you've gone through, and these are things that, God has forgiven you for. And so even if man doesn't forgive you for some of these choices and some of these bad decisions and some of these things you've gone through, I feel peace in knowing that God has, right? And so that there was this imaginary wall that only I could see that separated me from people's judgment of me, because I liked everyone thinking that I was this polished gem with no problems. But if they would have just simply turned the gem around, they would have saw just how flawed I was. But I read a book, because y'all know I read. I read this book where it said some of the greatest diamonds that are turned into some of the most beautiful jewels or pieces of jewelry are the flawed ones. They're the ones that have broken, silhouette and broken surfaces. And so when I started to think about my story from that perspective, I said, you know what? Even in all that I've done wrong, there was so much good that has come from it. And so learning to stop putting up this facade and this curtain, you know, yeah.
Yeah. That's making me think of, if I an artist who is chiseling away at this
Mm,
mold of clay or this slate or whatever it is, right? They might try and tick away or tack away at those imperfections,
mm,
thus, one, it, as you take away from these imperfections, these flaws, it minimizes the space that you actually have to work with, which
mm.
also then changes what the art is going to be. Maybe how big it is, how tall it is, what the surface space is that you have to work with, because you keep taking away at those flaws.
Yeah,
When sometimes you might just need to work those flaws into what the art is going to be.
right.
And I think that's what I'm getting from you. Like, no, my flaws are here. I
Yeah.
can't hide behind them anymore. Um, I love that for you. I love all of this conversation. We're getting so deep into it. We're getting so deep into it.
Thank you.
So I want to ask,
Mhm.
is there anything that you started to put in and then you said, nope, not this book, maybe the next one?
Was there anything I omitted? I think for the sake of length, I took some
Mhm.
things out and decided to hold on to them for my next memoir. Or there were parts of like my professional journey that I decided to withhold, not because I didn't want to share it, but because I'm currently working on another memoir called Confessions of a Career Matchmaker, that really speaks to my time in the talent acquisition space in big tech and in fintech. And so some of the stories I just felt like didn't really resonate or didn't really fit
Mhm.
into this memoir. So I did decide to hold them to focus more from a professional lens later. But in
Mhm.
terms of my personal journey, this book just focuses on 2 decades. It just focuses on my mid 20s until reaching my 40s, right? So it's like this weird, not the like perfect 2 decades, like 20 to 30, 30 to 40. No, it's like 20-ish into early 40s. But focusing on those 2 decades, I didn't withhold anything. I kind of shared everything that I have experienced, good, bad, and indifferent. And I did it for myself. I felt like this was such a gift and a piece of my legacy that I want people to remember. I don't want them to just remember that I played Rosie and Fresh, or that I ran TGI and the writer's room, but I want people to remember that I didn't just encourage women to heal their narratives, I did it myself. And being able to do the work, you can then take people where you can lead them where you've gone. And so that's what this
Gotcha.
was for me. This again was my evidence of that journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's something, as an authoress, a
Mhm.
storyteller,
Yeah.
and the stories that you tell are about your life. That means
Mhm.
there are supporting characters.
Yeah.
So yes, I would not be doing my job as an interviewer if I did not ask about the supporting characters.
Yeah.
As you've released your stories over the years, and particularly now with Pressure Made, Are there any supporting characters who are like, that's not how I remember it happening, or we need to talk about what you said about me? Like, any of those, anybody feathers ruffled? Anthony, you ain't got to say who.
No. So that's the thing. I will be honest. There are very few people's names mentioned in the book, but rather descriptions of their persona. And so if you know me intimately and you know me well, you'll be able to piece together exactly who I'm talking about based on the characteristics and, you know, some of the description of these persons and these characters in my life. But there's only very few people that I use their actual names. And it really is a respect thing. There are people that I truly respect as having contributed to my journey, having been a part of it, and, you know, having been staple and a permanent fixture in my life. And then there were people who really just taught me what not to do. And so those folks I didn't mention. I didn't want them to have any type of shine or flowers in the book, but I did want them to show up in the story so that you could see the critical impact that they had and who I become and who I was at the time. But I don't think anyone is going to read this and feel slighted. And if they do, then that's a personal conviction that you're going to have to go to your prayer closet about, because I have no apologies for anything I've said in this book. I think sometimes, and this is just a note to other writers and authors, I think sometimes we try so hard to protect the identity and the comfort of others that we really rob ourselves of the opportunity of transparency that heals. There is so much healing in really being honest about what happened to you. And not all of it ever has to be showcased. You don't have to publish it. But even when you journal it, tell the truth. Call their names out. This is the person who abused me. This is the person who mishandled me. This is the person who broke my trust. Because I feel like when we do that, we not only, you know, release it, but we give ourselves permission to talk about the fact that it hurt. And I hate that we have such a habit in Black culture of walking around the elephant in the room, opposed to acknowledging that it's there and that it's crushing us, that it's suffocating us, that it's taking up space in our home and in our lives. So I wanted to change that by being the first, and I may not be the first, but the first in my circle to actually say, nope, 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 no. This is the role I played, but these are the roles they played. And this is where it hurt to my core. But I know a God who's capable of healing down to the very fabric of what, you know, of what tore. And so that's what I really focus on. A lot of this book just focuses on God, honestly. It's a narrative that just points back to how truly good he is, and that there is absolutely nothing we can do that can separate us from him. So that's really what Pressure Made focuses on.
Well, again, ending right on cue because it is 7:45. So we're gonna jump into the comments here to see if we have a winner. But what I heard her say was, if you are a supporting character in this book, or you recognize yourself in the way that she personifies an individual,
Yeah.
take it to your prayer closet. Take it to Jesus, not Natima. All right,
Nope.
so we're gonna go up in here. The question was, Pressure Made is not the first time Natima Sheree has used that term in her literary work. Do you know where it came from? So some of the answers, we had Jessica Cooper, who said from diamonds. She is a diamond and was made under pressure. And then we have Higher Influence Consultant says you don't get a diamond until it goes through the fire. Let's see if we have another one. Love the one. Nope, doesn't look like. There's somebody who says can't wait for my copy. Are you playing with us? Is that, who is that? Rookie B44. Are you playing with us? Do you know where the term pressure made came from? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds because you might be needing to type. Okay, here we go. Insert Jeopardy music. Okay, enough. Do we have a winner chicken dinner in the answers that have been provided so far?
I would have to say Jessica is probably the closest because the first time that I used Pressure Made was actually in an anthology written by the Diamond Writers, where I named one of my subchapters Pressure Made, talking just what she described, the pressure of becoming a diamond. So she is the closest. Yes.
What? Go, Jess. Go, Jess. Okay, Jessica. We will be in touch with you to figure out where we should send your book and your accompanying journal to.
Yes.
Um, Shortly. Yes, she's already celebrated.
Yay.
Wait, I got my copy and my journal. Thank you. Okay. All right. Here we go. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to get into a couple more questions before we let Natima close out. All right. What sits with you now that this book is out in the world? What do your readers have to look forward to once they close the last page of the book?
Wow. I'll answer first what sits with me now. It's this feeling of liberation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I realized just how heavy my story had been weighing on my heart, and how hiding those parts of my life, how exhausting that is. Like, it's so exhausting to pretend and to hide, because that's what I was doing. I was pretty much pretending that I was perfect and that my life wasn't that jacked up. It actually was. And so the pressure of pretending and the pressure of performing, I feel liberated from that. And so that sits well with me. I sleep better at night. I have this new audacity, this new audacious behavior, in that I walk into rooms like I belong there, versus how I used to shrink and feel like because of what I've gone through, I didn't belong and that I wasn't qualified,
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't pure enough or good enough or holy enough or worthy enough. And now, having finally put these stories to paper, like I said, there's just this liberation that comes with that. And then the second part of your question, I'm sorry, you said I forgot it that
What?
fast.
Yep. What do the readers have to look forward to once they close this book? So
Um,
essentially, what's coming up next for you,
yeah.
and those things there.
Yes. So, if they're following the TGI community, I have quite a bit happening. One, I'll be on the main stage at Black Writers Weekend on August 2nd here in Atlanta. So it's a very exciting opportunity. I'll be speaking and sitting side by side with other literary influencers, really helping and coaching and aiding those who are in our same space on how to really come back from a mistake, right? How to turn your missteps and your mishaps and your mistakes into opportunities, because that is something that I've
Mm-hmm.
done over and over again as an entrepreneur in this literary space. It is not easy work. Following that, I do have a new journal coming out called Table for One. I specifically wrote that as a result of telling my story as a divorcee, like what being a newly divorced, mom of one felt like. And I realized there's a lot of support for divorce, but not the way I think I needed. And so it was on my heart to create a journaling space and a workbook for women who are either recently divorced or going through a breakup that feels like a divorce. And so that's called Table for One. That'll be out in September. As I mentioned, I am working on another memoir called Confessions of a Career Matchmaker, that speaks completely to my professional life, but it's actually comical. It's a very lighthearted book. It's not heavy. It's not overly saturated with professional terminology and jargon. It actually is me laughing at my career and how much time I wasted over investing and taking myself too seriously in that space. So that book I'm looking forward to, because it's a lot of laughs. I find myself chuckling at my own stories as I'm putting them together and compiling them in that memoir. And then the last thing I have coming up is my very first novel that'll be out spring of 2027. I cannot release the name of it because I am working hard to connect with filmmakers so that I can turn that novel into a movie. So you can't talk about it until you secure the bag. But that novel will be coming out, and I'm really, really proud of that work. So that's everything that I have going on. Of course, because we're relaunching the Writers Room in January 2027, creating space for women to heal and write and release. So those things are coming up as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, okay, here we go. Okay, so this is my last question. Looking at the breadth of all of your work, right? Whether, in corporate, in the literary spaces, where does this book fall on your character arc? Is it the start of the arc? Is it the peak of the arc? Or are you coming down?
Oh gosh, this is the start. This is the start of the arc. Because again, like I mentioned, this is the story of liberation for me. This book is really the launching pad of what I always wanted to do, but was never brave enough to do because I was carrying the weight of shame and carrying the weight of guilt from my story. Now that I've told it and I've put it out there and there's no backseas, like you can't take it back, right? um, it's kind of propelling me forward. And I don't think any of the things that are in front of me are coincidental. I think that that pressure made had to come out for everything else to follow. Um, as I mentioned, I'm in the healthiest relationship of my life. I've transitioned out of corporate America and out of talent acquisition into higher ed, really working one-on-one with our future, right? These students truly are right here at my Whitney moment. I believe the children are our future, right? Like these students really
Right?
are the future of healthcare. They're the future of public health and, government and big tech and fintech. And so working in the front lines with them, helping to shape their minds, that is the work that I feel truly called to do. But I had to do this healing work first so that I did not bleed or influence them with my own, with my own brokenness. And so I'm grateful to God that He
Mm.
mended parts of me that prepared me for where I am now.
That
So
is beautiful. So you have shared so much with us about the book, about your writing journey, about what you expect or what you would want the
yeah.
readers to get out of it. You know how we do in these spaces. Can you drop that final bar, that final gem for the community to go home with for the night?
Yeah. I didn't prepare anything intentionally because I was hoping to read the room and energetically feel what needed to be said. And the thing that keeps coming top of mind and keeps coming back to me is that, the work that you're doing now truly is for the chapter that's coming. It's for the chapter that is yet to be written. A lot of people say you have to live in the now, you have to live in the now. And I just don't agree with that. I think the seeds that we plant now really are for a future harvest. And so we have to be intentional now. But I don't think you only live for now. I think you truly do live for the life ahead, whether that's in glory. People go, well, tomorrow's not promised. And you're absolutely right. But what you do now does play a part in how you end up there too. And so I'm very intentional that I wake up with intention, that everything that I do, everything that I decide, everything that I put my hand to, I'm thinking about what that outcome may look like. And although I don't have control over the outcome, I do have control over the seed that I sow. And so if I'm sowing good seed and I'm kind to people and I'm forgiving of people and I'm thoughtful of others, I do believe that will be the return. So I guess my final gem is, approach your life with intentionality, no matter what that is, whether that's work, whether that's creativity, whether that's your love life, motherhood, no matter what it is, be intentional about what you do
Mm-hmm.
and follow through on that. And if I can, with the time we have, I'd love to extend some thank yous if that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, of course want to thank you because you have really been a rock for me over the past, godly, what, 7, 8 years now. Um, Trusting you with TGI gave me room to create. I didn't have the capacity to create and lead. And so when you stepped into leadership, you gave me more time for myself to do the things that I really wanted to do from my heart. So thank you. Of course, shout out to my dad, who is my hero and my first love and my biggest supporter. He has truly taught me how to chase dreams unapologetically without forsaking those that you're responsible for. So I want to thank my dad. I want to thank my mom. You know, we don't have the greatest relationship right now, but she has always been a woman of intentionality. And I'm grateful for that because I didn't always get it, but I get it now. And so I'm grateful, of course, my baby girls, Araya and Amaya, truly my pride and my joy, and the reason why I never gave up, the reason why I never broke in this pressure making season. Shout out to my chocolate drop. I hope he's still listening. He had to go off to work, but I hope he is hearing me. As I mentioned earlier, he truly is the safest love I've ever known. And I'm just so grateful to be loved by him and to love him in my wholeness season. My girls, Mel and Tanisha, my best friends, Tiffany, Bethia, Shaeva, and Damo. Thank y'all so much. Thank you to my former coworker and truly someone that inspires me. I don't even know if she realizes it, but her name is Jasmine. I believe she was on earlier. When I tell y'all, she is just walking light. She is light manifested in human form. So thank you to her for all she's been to me over the years without even realizing it. And then a newly found friend of mine here in Atlanta, Fatima. So my name is Natima. Her name is Fatima. And we connected in the most unique way. And she has just been a constant and steadfast person, such a genuine soul. So I'm thankful for her as well. And if I missed anyone, know that that was not intentional. I'm just trying to hurry up because we only got a few minutes left. So, yeah.
Well, on behalf of everybody who you just mentioned, I accept the flowers and the kudos and all of the things because we
Thank
are
you.
only mere reflections of what you pour into us. So, refraction, the light shining in from you, refracting off of us right back at you. There was a question that was dropped, and if
Mhm.
everybody could hang on for just a brief moment, and if you could sum this up really quickly, came from Jess Cooper, who said, now that you have laid everything on the table, what advice would you have given to your past self? And
Oh,
that's almost a loaded one for the end, but we want to make this real short and sweet so we can send the people on their way.
okay. That's such a great question, Jay. And thank you, Jay. Oh my gosh. My former Diamond Rider leader, a friend from high school. She knew me when. Thank you, Jessica. But what I would tell my former self or the version of me who was in pain, I would have just told her to keep living, keep breathing, keep trying, keep fighting your way through it. But I would not have changed anything in the journey. Um, I think sometimes we so badly want to advise our old selves to avoid some of the pain we experienced or avoid some of the mistakes and the mishaps. But truly, I don't think with those I would be as humble and as grateful and as full as I am now. I don't think I would have the capacity and the heart for service that I have had I not been one who needed service, right? I don't think I would have approached the work that I do the way that I do if I were not the one who actually needed this at one time in life. So honestly, I would just tell her to keep doing everything she did. Keep loving your girls, keep loving yourself, keep putting God first. There's nothing that I could have done that would have made him hate me. And that's probably what I would have told myself sooner. Like, God don't hate you. He still loves you. That's probably the only thing I would have said to her that would have, impacted her journey at all. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And someone needed to hear that message for themselves now. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for allowing me to be your guest host on Behind the Pages. It's been a pleasure to be
Thank
here.
you.
And just so that y'all know, I might pop in a couple of more times throughout the year whenever there are some scheduled conflicts. So get used to this face and this voice. But
Yay.
until, next time and the team comes back, it is what it is.
Continue to write your story one healing page at a time.
All right, y'all. Peace and good night.